Awesome.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Metsahate.
Thank you, everyone, for being with us during this important moment. It feels exciting because it seems that things are coming together. Before I start, I'd like to say a few things just to remind you. The first thing is to bear in mind that it's an early draft. So the reason why we are sharing it to you, even if you don't feel like finished and comfortable, is because we are really got to refine and work it with you guys, because your inputs are really valuable and they should come before it's too late. And I know you will have lots of questions and lots of interesting comments, but I'd like to encourage you to take notes of your questions and comments, and we'll give you a chance when the presentation is over. So you get first the whole picture, and your questions will follow. And if you don't get chance to speak up now, Mary kindly offered to bring all of your comments together and give it back to the team both in IDEO and PSI Ethiopia to further work on your comments and questions. I can't see which slide is kind of presented now because we're using Skype instead of Zoom. It's not working in Ethiopia, so bear with me if some kind of jumping from one slide to another. But basically, this document is kind of capturing what we have learned during the inspiration phase in Ethiopia. It reflects people's voice, mainly the adolescent girls, adolescent boys, mothers and fathers, in-laws, as well as the community influencers, including the providers. And for the consortium members, it gives a chance to look at the design opportunities based on the insights we came up. So as you know, the scope of the inspiration phase is, in terms of time, it started in Ethiopia late August, and we have been kind of rigorously working until mid-September. There was a multidisciplinary team stage, including the young designers, the IDEO team and the PSI team, to go to 4 different regions in Ethiopia, including Addis Ababa, Oromia, Tigray, and Afar. I would like to remind you guys, like Afar is not our program area, but we were asked by the Arabia team in Ethiopia, so we were kind of forced to include as a research area. Methods, as you know, there are rigorous IRB approval process both at PSI headquarters level and from the Ethiopia IRB approval bodies, which is EPHI, the Ethiopian Public Health Institution, which is under Ministry of Health. And in doing that, we managed to get support letters from the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Social and Labor Affairs, because the EPHI asked for those letters to back up their approval process. As any type of research, we had also limitations. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
we can. Yes.
Okay. So as a research type, we do have also limitations. As much as we wanted to speak to a diverse group of girls, but in reality, we were somehow short of the unmarried out-of-school girls, and also married girls with babies were not adequate enough in numbers. So just to give you how it feels to be out in the field and to show you somehow team competition, I'm sure you all have been involved and you know who is who in those pictures. But all in all, we managed to have a total of 127 interview sessions where the biggest number was achieved in Oromia. Obviously, Oromia is big, and Oromia is kind of our priority for a number of reasons, followed by Tigray, Afar. We managed to interview a total of 294 people where adolescent girls are the majority, followed by mothers. And we also took quite a number of adolescent boys. So you can see the detail on this slide. After the data gathering, as you know, the synthesis was the next phase or the next step. It's kind of a kickoff for us to start making a meaning out of the data we have collected already. It involved the IDEO team based in San Francisco and the PSI Ethiopia team based in Addis. So we managed so far to have today's call every week, which is an hour long each. And some of the things were done parallelly as a way of maintaining the context, as well as ensuring that capacity enhancement or capacity development is there. I don't want to spend much time on talking about these numbers because most of you are aware of these numbers. They're just taken from the landscape analysis we did during the inception phase of the program. It's just to remind you guys like a few of the numbers in terms of sexual activity for the girls and what the regional breakdown looks like. And obviously you can see Afar here for the same reason I mentioned earlier, because Afar is not a research area and we didn't include it during the landscape analysis. And also the educational level, as you can see clearly here, even if more than 50% of the girls are going to primary school, quite a number of them are dropping out when they join secondary school, and what it means in terms of the SRH type of girls will come to later on. Technology access, we just put some numbers based on the available data. Radio, television, newspaper, and as you can see, there's no data on mobile access. Also for other aspects of the girls' lives. In addition to the landscape exercise, all of you know that the segmentation was another research was supporting the overall inception phase of the program. And you remember the 10th model, and based on this model, the Ethiopia team had two archetypes. In terms of the drivers of behavior change, there were three major drivers, including agency, knowledge, and goal setting. So the two archetypes are Hiot and Tigis. For Hiot, she's never married, not sexually active, according to the segmentation research. And she lives with her family because she's not sexually active, she's not using any contraception methods. And for Tigis, she's married, sexually active, obviously, and she may have also a child. She may also live or not live with her husband. She is also less educated, and some of the Tigs are using modern contraception. So for Tigis, agency is the major drivers of behavior change, and for Hiot, environment is the major drivers of behavior change. After the field work, we realized that the segmentation helped us frame the field research across those two broad kind of archetypes. But based on lots of personal stories we listened to and the complex narratives behind the girl's life, we realized that there are a wide range of other archetypes. We didn't give them a name, but we realized that there are more number of archetypes than just Hiot and Tigis, which we will try to explain for you guys later on. Over to you, Mary.
Thank you, Metzahate. So as Metzahate was just saying, the segmentation was really, really wonderful in getting us to Hiwa and Tigist, but we realized that to us, when we were reviewing the segmentation, it really represented a moment in time, but there are so many different experiences and needs associated with Hiwa as she moves through a trajectory, as she moves through her trajectory. So we started mapping out all the different trajectories we heard during our research. And we realized that on this left side of this slide, that would be more of what Hiwat's trajectory would be. And there are a lot of different options and a lot of different pathways of what would impact her drivers and what her future looks like. And so she's a lot more complex than what the segmentation really led on. And just to bring this to life, here are a few sample trajectories of girls that we actually talked to, girls and boys that we talked to during our research. And you can see that there are a number of different trajectories before you get married. And then after marriage, it's pretty similar in that there's a child right away, and then maybe there's a second child. And so the trajectory seems to get much more simple with low variability and predictable after marriage. But before marriage, there are still some limited paths, but much more variable paths than after marriage. And so that got us thinking that because a girl's trajectory is so defined after marriage, we really need to design for the breadth of experiences prior to marriage. And Hiwa, the segmentation and the way that Hiwa is written out in it right now, it might not account for all those different trajectories and experiences and that a girl may have before she gets married. So from this kind of thought process, we really started to highlight two key windows of opportunities for us to consider with these trajectories and the needs of the girls. So one is unmarried girls, but really building off of the base of Hiwa into something more where it accounts for all those different trajectories that are so different. And then the second need is really married girls with a child. So as we did our research, we continue to hear over and over again how culturally important it is to prove your fertility right after marriage, and how highly valued that is for girls. And so we feel like our opportunities really lie more in the unmarried girls space and then the married girls space once they have a child. And any solutions we design for those two windows would likely impact the married girl who maybe wants to delay her first child. But if we can focus on those two spaces, we feel like we may have more success. And so these are some of the key points of these opportunity windows. So for unmarried girls, as you guys all know, there's a lack of contraceptive services and education. There's an increasing exposure to outside influences. There's new interactions between boys and girls. There are new paths presented by education, and there's this continued pressure to get married and prove fertility, even if you're unmarried. And then with married girls, there's a desire to have less children, desire to be more financially stable, and there's the pressure to prove fertility. And we're seeing this shifting role of couples and a slight increased agency in girls from what the segmentation laid out. So these really present two main opportunities that we're going to rush through today. The first opportunity window is how might we empower and equip girls to choose successful paths as they navigate this time before marriage. And then the second one is how might we help married girls and couples plan for healthy futures. So we have organized all of our insights and learnings within these two opportunity windows, and we will present to you these insights. So before we jump into it, I just wanted to take a step back on what are insights. So insights are really statements that help point the way forward for us and drive design solutions. And so we oftentimes talk about, does it have design energy? And so some of this, there's so many experts in the field, some of what we share today may not be new to you guys, but what's important about these insights is that they lead us to novel solutions. So it's not what they are, it's what they lead us to. And oftentimes something that's maybe known combined with something that's known or something that's a little bit more underlying can create, in combination, two insights can create really, really novel solutions. So take them for what they are, and also know that they're a draft. And let's all use these insights to really help us focus on being actionable and what topics we really think can impact the girl in her life and what she chooses in terms of sexual reproductive health. Another reminder, all the participants signed a consent with us. So as we go through here, we'll have a lot of quotes from girls, but we didn't use any names so that we could assure confidentiality and anonymity. So I'm going to pass it back to you, Metzahet.
So we grouped the insights for unmarried and married girls, and we would start by the unmarried girls. So the first insight for the unmarried girls is the sexual reproductive health information is poorly timed and is irrelevant to the girl's life. And oftentimes, as you remember from the previous data page, most of the girls are not getting the chance to go to secondary school. But usually the sexual and reproductive health information is given at secondary level. So for the girls, because it's not given earlier in their life while they are still in school, that's a primary level school, they miss that most important moment in their life, and they just drop off when it's given at secondary level. And the other aspect of this SRS information delivery is like how the family planning discourse is kind of positioned within the country. Because family planning is all about birth spacing, and usually birth spacing is for married couples. And as you can see from this quote of unmarried girl in Oromia region, I mean, if a girl is not married, there's no use for her to use contraception because family planning is all about birth spacing. The other element under this insight is because the way the girls conceptualize being sexually active is somehow tricky. They don't relate contraception to their daily life because for the girls, being sexually active is highly taboo and it's highly considered as a promiscuous activity. And the girls are really struggling to maintain the status quo, but at the same time live their daily life because they are going to school, they are interacting more with the girls and trying to exercise their agency, but they don't want to identify themselves as being sexually active. As a result, contraception is not something they can think about it immediately. You can see some quotes on how sporadic sexual activity is for the girls. For instance, a service provider in Tigray side, they don't have the intention to have sex, but it happens. And a boy in Oromia was saying, like, my girlfriend and I have only have sex only every 3 months. And in relation to that affirms the earlier idea of how being sexually active is really having a cause or repercussion for girl is like, if a girl is sexually active, the community will hurt her, and isolate her was a kind of quote we got from one of the girls in Oromia region. And even if sex education is given in the classroom, in the school setting, it's usually given as any subject like biology or physics or maths, like you will study and pass the exam, and that's it. It doesn't really, it's not delivered in a way that it clearly understands like the complex SRH behavior of the girls and the boys, and it's not kind of delivered to build their skill and capacity so that they can smoothly navigate their SRH life. And the girls may mention some number of contraception, but they may not tell you like they should use it so that they'll have a healthy life. Some quotes, as you can see here, kind of witness for that. And the other element of this insight is the long-acting reversible methods are perceived as foreign and impersonal because marriage and children are an immediate future for the girls. So the girls usually would like to make sure that fertility is still, the end goal, because that's what's expected from them by the community at the end of the day. Even if they are going to school, even if they are succeeding in their school, even if they are securing a job, at the end of the day, marriage and having children are kind of the end goal. And I think it sums up everything in the end. So they want to make sure that fertility is not at stake by their action, and why they feel like use of long-acting methods is related to related to their fertility. Is there are a number of methods on the side effects, and infertility is one of those side effects, and it really drives their behavior on using or not using contraception. So as you can see some quotes below, one of that is the married adult girl says, you have to have 2 babies before you use contraception. I see some of the quotes are kind of mixed because we're talking about insights about unmarried girls, but some of the quotes we put here are referring to married girls. Sorry about that. And the provider from Tigray said most unmarried girls don't use contraception because of fear of infertility. So infertility and misconceptions about the side effects are really huge across the board. And interestingly, a boy from Addis, who is a male partner, said that use of contraception is really ruining girl space. And infertility is another side effect. So based on this first insight and the narrative behind that insight, we have identified 3 major design opportunities. The first design opportunity is how might we expand the definition of sexually active to include sporadic encounters, and the driver of behavior change we try to associate with this opportunity is goal setting, because it's more or less related to how the girls perceive about themselves and how they kind of safely and smoothly live with the community norms and cultures. And the second opportunity is how might we reposition the long-acting methods to adapt to any girl's desired timeline, which is related to knowledge and goal setting again. And the third opportunity is how might we affirm fertility for contraceptive users, because fear of infertility was a huge issue across the board. Over to you, Mary. Hello?
Oh, sorry. I was sneezing, so I turned myself to mute, and now I'm off mute. Okay. um, the next insight for unmarried girls is that existing health services are not designed for them, which we all know because that's why we're all doing this project. But how it really manifests is that it feels very taboo for them to access contraceptive services. And so we heard things over and over again, such as this quote, that girls worry that people can see the implant, so they don't get it. And then they end up pregnant and get an abortion. And so there's such a fear associated with the social stigma of using any methods if you're not married, that girls really opt not to use them, and then end up in sometimes tricky situations. And so this includes the health extension workers. So many of these services are designed for married women and not adolescent girls. And they're doing a really great job of accessing married women. But for girls, we heard quotes like, I don't know the health extension worker. How could I possibly trust her, from a girl in Oromia? Or they talk to mature girls about family planning, but not people like us. And so we heard this over and over again, and we're curious if there might be opportunities for us to start to design some of these services to be more girl friendly. So, or how might we make existing services more girl friendly? This is probably common knowledge to a lot of people on this call, but girls are creating really, really creative workarounds to access contraceptives privately. So we heard stories of a broker in Oromia who would go into the city and buy EC pills and birth control and condoms and come back and spread it amongst the youth. We heard stories of girls, this quote over here, girls taking off their uniforms so people couldn't identify them. I think every interview we heard people talk about going to a clinic that's a town away, or a pharmacy that's a town away, so that no one would recognize them. And so they're really trying to be very creative about accessing contraceptives privately. But what we're really curious is there an opportunity for how might we give girls private access to contraceptives that are integrated into their environment so they're not creating all of these workarounds? Girls also really fear judgment, so they access where no questions are asked. And so this oftentimes includes the pharmacy with emergency contraceptives such as posty pills. It also includes, in a few rare cases, going to traditional healer, because we have this quote down here, girls go to traditional healer because they're scared of questions coming from doctors and nurses. They really just fear what doctors will think. And so we want to think about how might we give girls confidence in their confidentiality of their visit and their contraceptive choice, so that they can be confident in going and accessing service and not worrying about judgment from the providers or judgment from the community. So here are some of our emerging design opportunities for these three. Most of them are environment related. So how might we make existing services more girl friendly? That's more environment related. How might we give girls private access to contraceptives that are integrated into their environment? That's environment related. And then how might we give girls confidence in their confidentiality of their visit and contraceptive choice? That's a lot of agency and goals. Over to you, Metzahate, for Insight 3.
Yeah, the third insight is something related to education again. But from a little bit of different angle. So education provides hope for better future, yet the community still expects the girls to get married and have babies as early as possible. And we realize the community really values education and they're really invested to send their daughters to school. But they still want to maintain that cultural norm of marrying their girls early, and that childbearing early is also very important. So you clearly see a big tension in there, while the community is really valuing education and while they're really sending their school, they still kind of decide on the girl's life, and kind of drive them in another route instead of ensuring they continue and they finish their education. So one of the parents in a, for instance, say like she might age and not get a child when she wants it. So you can see like how early it should be for a girl to get married and to have a baby. That said, 10th grade seems a very critical inflection point that determines a girl's life in the coming few years of her life. Oftentimes, like the learning outcome for the girls is very low, and there are a number of kind of studies done on that. But based on the data we gathered through this process, we had, like, for instance, the girls in Oromia say, no matter how hard we study, our results are not good. So if we fail grade 10, there's no point for us to get more invested on education. It's rather useful for us either to get married or to start some business, and that's it. So grade 10 is really a very critical moment for the girls. And in relation to that, education doesn't seem a proven path, because usually success is defined in terms of achieving economic gain, and job opportunities are really rare. And the community is kind of really struggling between sending and not sending children to school. For instance, in Oromia, we heard mothers saying, yes, we need a better life for our children. But once they finish school, once that's grade 10, and if they fail the exam, they get back to their house, and they kind of act as strangers, because they are not used to their mother's life, because they're spending most of their time in school, and she doesn't spend much of her time fetching water, protecting firewood, and she feels a stranger at the end of the day. So moms aspire for their girls to finish school, but getting a job is luck. This is one of the reflection we got from a parent in Addis. And lack of a role model is also another issue in relation to translating education to an immediate success. Usually the girls can't mention any role model that can immediately associate with them, because female role models in their localities are in most cases absent. We are somehow repeating ourselves, but as I said, families value education very, very much, but still they're more comfortable when the girls are married, and they feel like their future is better set with marriage than with education. For instance, if you can read one of the parents saying in Oromia, it says, what disturbs our mind is that many of these kids whom we send to school may end up neither having a good marriage or a good education. So you can see a real and clear tension between sending the girls to school or deciding to get married and secure better life, according to their perspective. So the three design opportunities under this insight again are somehow related to culture and habits and social drivers, and to some extent also goals. So the first design opportunity is how might we create alternative paths for the girls after 10th grade outside of education and marriage. This is kind of one of the design opportunities. And the second opportunity is how might we create opportunities to demonstrate value of education. And the third one is how might we leverage cultural values of education to delay marriage. Over to you, Mary.
Thank you, Metse. So the next insight for unmarried girls is that girls' increased exposure to outside influence is causing the community to feel anxious and unprepared for the times. So in recent years, with the increase in education, girls have been exposed to lots of other outside influences, including the more reliability of town centers and access to technology. And so all of these things are really leaving the community feeling unsure of what their role is, because they're not confident that they can protect the girls in these changing environments. So we heard quotes like, the parents send their girls to do something, but they sneak out to meet their boyfriends at cafes, and also they meet when going to school. And so there's this fear of girls are leaving their homes more often than they did before, and there's this fear of what are they actually doing when they're leaving their homes. And so while phones are not, part of this is due to technology, and so while phones are not completely widespread, we saw some really, really fascinating behaviors around phones while we were in the field, and that adolescents are really finding ways to share mobile access and media. And so we saw these, we heard story after story of, oh, I don't have a phone, but I know someone. So the unmarried girl who says, I use my mom's cell phone to contact friends. Or another unmarried girl who says, we have a phone with no SIM card, but we share music and photos over it. And she was so proud of her phone. And boys seem to think that if you have a phone, you'll get a girlfriend, which maybe is true, maybe it's not. But this boy said, you can use phone to flirt with girls and get a girlfriend. And so what we saw while we were in the field is that not everyone has phones. Like, we can't design a solution for everyone who has phones. But what was really interesting is whoever had a phone, there were oftentimes 3 or 4 people huddled around it. And they were all accessing the information that one person could. And so we're curious if we might be able to leverage these group sharing behaviors in design solutions. There's also a growing dependency on town centers where girls are often exposed to outside influences. So we were there in the field observing market days when everyone would come in on a Wednesday, and it was this amazing social moment where people would walk from 2-3 hours away, and it would be their chance to socialize, to get exposure to outside influences, and to really catch up with their friends. And this dependency isn't just on market days, but it's also in school, it's in how their life is adjusting from the pastoral lifestyle to being more reliant on town centers. And there may be some opportunities to leverage these routines in towns as an access point. The third insight in this area is how all of these outside influences, the technology, the access to town, the access to education, it's all creating this shifting social dynamic that are really disrupting the perceived control that the community feels they have on girls and the parents feel they have on girls. And so it's very uncomfortable for older people in the community and parents, and this might be a human universal, as Courtney likes to say, but we're curious if there might be a way to capitalize on this shifting social dynamic and really help guide this anxiety and energy into a productive way where we might help educate the community on more joint decision-making opportunity between girls and their elders, or how might we engage the community to support more diverse girl trajectories. So it might be really interesting to play in these spaces because we heard again and again how strict parents are, and how, we heard this quote from a community influencer says, "I can't control my daughter anymore, not even my wife." This energy, and really move it towards a productive space where we can start to work with the community to support more diverse trajectories of girls. And so here are the three main design opportunities in this space. How might we leverage group sharing behaviors of technology to increase exposure to info and services? So this is, the drivers for this is knowledge and environment. The next opportunity, how might we leverage rural girls' routines in town as an access point? And this would be environment. And the third one is, how might we engage the community to support more diverse girl trajectories? And this one, I think, is more gender transformative. And it's a culture and habit driver along with a, what is an S driver? Social, thank you. That's the first time it's popped up, and I guess my 6 a.m. brain isn't all the way there. Okay. And so these are some of the exciting opportunities that we've started to articulate. Over to you, Metzahate.
Sorry, I was on mute. So the final insight for the unmarried girls is on cultural norms. So the cultural norms have not caught up with new interaction between the adolescent girls and boys. So we came up with something interesting around dating. It becomes common among adolescents, but it lacks kind of support. There are no role models and there is no social norm behind it. And if I can mention some of the codes, nowadays it's normal to start having relationships at an early age, around 13, 14, or 15 is normal, according to one of the boys from Tigray. And unmarried girl in Afar says, without kind of supporting dating that much, but a signal that it's existing in the community by saying like a boyfriend cannot be trusted on anything. It means that dating is existing, but a kind of reaction behind that dating is like boyfriends are not trusted for anything. So this indicates that like it's becoming kind of common, and there is some discussion going on within the community with various perspectives from the girls, from the both side, and from the community as well. And the avenue for this dating and the interaction happening between the new interaction happening between boys and girls is usually the school. So we realized that the school is a kind of a new place for the girls to test their agency and somehow exercise it. We like school because it means we won't be working in the house, and there is kind of free time to interact and mingle around. Before it was hard for boys and girls to meet. Nowadays there are many occasions, including school. So you can see lots of quotes from Oromia, like a school is a kind of an environment for both the girls and the boys to come together and interact more often. The school is where girls are free, so you can't see how they are really acknowledging their agency within that school environment. So the three major emerging design opportunities we have identified based on this insight is how might we leverage the emerging dating culture to promote healthy behaviors, including contraception or contraceptive use. I mean, I have to say something in here, like some of the opportunities we are kind of identifying should be looking at the cultural appropriateness element and the idea, and the PSI team was kind of arguing and struggling, like, oh, I don't think, leveraging the emerging dating culture is something that we can do as an Ethiopian, given the situation in here. But the IDEO team is really saying that it's okay. So we accepted that. And the other opportunity is how might we use the school environment to help girls explore their aspiration and agency in a safe way? Because right now it seems that they're not doing it kind of safely and in a healthy way. And the third opportunity is how might we build the positive relationship formed in school between the girls and boys into lasting community norms? Because you see very interesting dynamics from the boys' perspective. Like, I remember some quotes, even if they are not mentioned in here, the boys saying, like, before contraception was a girl's issue, but now it's also our issue. And they also start to become involved either in supporting girls or disapproving their decision. So they're really playing a very interesting role in the girls' decision. So it's worth more exploring and identifying other opportunities in that. So most of the drivers in relation to this insight and the emerging opportunities are in relation to culture and habits, social agency, environment. And one of the opportunities, especially on the exploring the relationship between girls and boys, seems gender transformative because it's building on something existing, and boys are really changing for the good of girls. So here is the end on the insights for unmarried girls, and I will take you through the first insight for married girls with a child. So the first insight for this group is proving fertility and having children is very, very important, yet there is a desire to have less. So you clearly see attention right after marriage, the girls should prove their fertility. They just need to have a baby. And if you are talking to a group of married girls together, having a baby is kind of the immediate goal. But at the same time, as a kind of modern couples, they aspire to have less number of children, and as opposed to their parents who are valuing a big family member, they value a quality of life than a number of children in the family. So, part of the reason why they need a child right after marriage is because very important to secure their union. They feel like if she's giving him a child, he'll love her and the relationship will continue. You can have a look on one of the quotes from Married Girl in Addis: if a girl doesn't have babies, the husband will leave her. The aim of marriage is to have children and make our husband happy. And it's also a must to have the first baby as soon as possible after marriage. So having children is a fixed cultural norm and universal goal brings girls and women's status. So insights seems kind of interrelated, and they're really existing together. So you can have also look on some interesting quotes. Life is worthless without children. So you can see how critical it is for girls to have babies. As I mentioned, this strong desire to have children coexists with their aspiration to have quality of life by having a less number of children. Smart girls want to have fewer children and raise them well. We don't have to live a bad life by having children over and over. So you can see kind of the desire between ensuring fertility and also having a few number of children and having quality of life. So the design opportunities under this insight are again three. The first one is how might we help girls feel ownership over their fertility, the first one. And second one is how might we create new opportunities to earn social status outside of childbearing. So very, very critical, like a girl and a woman are valued all over the world, like of their reproductive role than other roles they could play. And the third one is how might we use the moment of marriage as a chance for couples to plan for the future. And this is more building on their desire to have a quality of life. And the drivers related to these insights are the culture and habits, which especially the second opportunity is gender transformative, and agency is also involved. Over to you, Mary.
Thank you. So the last insight, and we are running out of time, so I don't know if we'll have time for questions, but I'll take you through this last insight and then give you instructions for giving feedback. But the last insight is that couples really desire joint decision-making and contraceptive use, but in reality, knowledge and agency continue to be a barrier. And what we saw was that knowledge is really a huge barrier for husbands, and they are oftentimes really uninformed about methods and the value of contraception. But what was fascinating are so many are very, very eager to learn more. So much so that during research, it was kind of uncomfortable for a couple of research teams because the husbands or partners were so eager to learn more that we didn't feel, we're designers, not health workers, so we didn't feel quite comfortable trying to teach them. And so we heard quotes over and over again across all the regions, like, it's really great to learn together. I want us both to know. I didn't know anything about contraception. And so we're curious if there might be opportunities to bring in young husbands so that they could receive more education and knowledge around contraception, and then also create opportunities for joint learning and joint decision-making between husband and wife. The second insight of this one is how we saw more and more girls feeling empowered to make contraception decisions on their own. And the caveat to this too is that more and more husbands feel like it, and boys, as Metzahate said earlier, feel like it should be a girl's decision, and that that's something really important for them. So we heard, one story of a girl who removed her implant in front of her husband because he didn't want to have it, but then received a injection in secret away from her husband that was supposedly a shot. And while we're not condoning these secretive and deceptive behaviors, it is interesting to see how girls are feeling empowered to make their choices on their own, and how can we create supportive environments and tools for girls to make their own decisions around contraception and increase their agency. So we have only 2 minutes left, so I'm going to skip these design opportunities here, but they're wide range of drivers for them and gender transformative as well. And I wanted to just in summary say that this is really what the direction that we're right now, as we've made our way through synthesis, that we're thinking of going. So how might we empower and equip girls to choose successful paths before marriage? And how might we help married girls and couples plan for healthy futures? And we have a number of insights in these areas, but really what we want next is for you guys to help us push these insights forward. So we want to leverage all of the wisdom and knowledge that the consortium has and collect the feedback so we can make these better together. And so our hope is that we're really moving into a generative mode, and we want these insights to crispen up and help give us the design energy to make really novel solutions. And so if you could, as I think, and Mary Phillips, if you want to correct me in this is what our thinking was is we're going to send out a Word document today with all of the insights in it. And then if we can have the organizations share and build on the insights together to make one set of comments, made and track changes, and then send them to Mary, that by Friday, then we can start to, as a team, review the comments and feedback and incorporate as appropriate. One thing that's really, really important is that Team Ethiopia we're going to try to incorporate as much feedback as we can, but Team Ethiopia is really the team that is working in this context, and they know what's more appropriate for their country. So as much as we want to incorporate feedback, there might be some pieces of feedback that that we'll discuss and critically analyze and then decide, based on the field research we did, we don't know if that's really important. We think this might be important. So more to come on that today. And if I can steal one more minute from you guys, next up we are going to be returning to Addis for an ideation and prototyping work session in a week or two to start to play around with some of these how might we's and what solutions might come out of them. So we're very excited to refine and iterate these insights together, and we look forward to hearing from you guys. I don't think we have questions. Time for questions?
Mary and Matt said it depends on your schedule. I mean, we could stick around for 5 more minutes if people have burning questions, if you have the time.
I have 5 minutes. Metzahate?
I can have also 5 minutes.
Okay, great.
Okay.
I'll make sure people are unmuted and go ahead with questions. Anyone?
This is Anna, and I mean, I don't really have a question. I mean, I have a lot of ideas that I'm going to give you in writing, but I just wanted to say, I think that I just wanted to commend all of you for the immense amount of work you've done to integrate all these layers. It's super exciting to see all the different disciplines come together in these insights, as well as the collaboration between IDEO.org and the folks that were doing the synthesis in country. So you guys just did some amazing work. It's really exciting.
Thank you, Anna. We so appreciated you stepping in very critical moments to steer us on the right track and give us your wisdom. So it was it's been a lot of fun.
And Rebecca wrote in the chat box that she echoes that. She wanted to send congrats to everyone who's been involved.
And this is Madeline and Shahada from Tanzania. And I think there's definitely a lot of learning in here that overlaps with some of the stuff that we've heard. So it's also exciting to see. And hopefully there will be some opportunity for overlap in terms of design opportunities as well. So good job.
And we'll review the insight and come back with comment by Friday.
Awesome. And I would love to think through how we can, because Madeline, I know I reached out to you for the insight, for Tanzania's insights a while back, and I haven't had a chance to review them, but I would love to think through how we can start to see where the overlap is. Because I think that's the point of us doing this work across 3 countries. So I think that would be a great conversation to figure out as a next step.
Sure.
Anything else from anyone?
I just wanted to say, in terms of thinking about also the segmentation work, is that it would be really, I think, interesting to look across the countries as we look across the synthesis across the 3 countries to see if we're identifying different drivers than what is emerging from the synthesis as we're looking at the trajectories. And I think that would actually be really helpful as we think about how we're using this data across the 3 settings.
Great.
Yeah, sorry, and to build on that, so from the Tanzania side, we'll be incorporating the segmentation essentially after our design research. So also as we're thinking through how you guys have been able to incorporate the segmentation into your design research, it'll be interesting to have another conversation later about how you think that, you know, if we can get feedback from you guys on how we might be able to do that in reverse.
Wonderful. We can definitely follow up on that. And I think we're still exploring the best way for all three countries to come together and, you know, sort of for us to have this conversation. So we will try to incorporate making sure that that is part of that larger conversation. And so I think we're at time, but sorry, I think we're at time. So I'll be following up with the Word document for comments and just a repeat of the instructions that Mary went over this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.